everybody, welcome back to Markets and Sectors. Good to be with you today. My name is Mike Fairborn. Plenty to look at across markets and sectors. We're going to do a little bit of analysis today. First of all, we want to take a look at the market posture. Let's see what the market looks like in general. We had a little bit of a blip the last few days. Now today and yesterday, they were generally bullish days, but we want to take a look at that. We also want to do some comparisons in terms of sector rotation. What's been rotating? What have we seen? Because today it's perfect. It worked out just great. Today is October 1st, and now we have 30 days behind us. We can take a look and see what has changed since those last 30 days in terms of sector performance, and also what's been leading within those sectors, talking about specific stocks as well. So I will look forward to getting into that with you all. Let's see. Welcome to each of you we do have here with us. And I can't see everybody at the top of the list, but I do have Riceburg. I've got Helen. Good afternoon to you, Helen. Riceburg, Kevin, Jay Richardson. We've got Taylor Kelly and Scott coming to us from Hawaii, I believe. We've got Greg and Will. Good afternoon, Will. Howdy. How's it going? And welcome to all of you. Sharon, good to have you on board. All right. Hey, just want to state, I'm joining the chat, good friend, colleague of mine, Cameron May. You can follow Cameron at Cameron May CS. Folks, you can generally follow me on X, Mike Fairborn CS. Unfortunately, my Twitter account has been suspended. Just a heads up, if you try to go to it, it is suspended currently. And what happened is I did submit, just a quick note, to X about a series of imposters. And what happened is the imposter actually reported me in instead of him. So his account's up and running and mine is shut down. So I hope I don't lose all of my followers. But be sure to follow me if I did, because right now it's showing I have 0 followers on my end. Little side note there, but generally I like to say, hey, I am here on X as well. But yeah, definitely Cameron's is not suspended. Cameron May CS. Okay, well with that, let's hit some disclosures so we can get the show on the road and get going. All right. Yeah, information here is provided for general information purposes only. Schwab does not recommend the use of technical analysis as a sole means of investment research. Paper money software application is for educational purposes only. Investing involves risk, including for some products, more than your initial investment. There's a little blip on futures. Futures and futures options trading does involve substantial risk. It's not simple for all investors. And past performance is no guarantee of future results. All right. With that, yeah, just seeing some of your comments coming back. What did I do? All I did was try to report some imposters. And it appears that they got the better of it. They got the better of the situation. So that's how it goes. Sometimes, I guess, with imposters out there. One of them had like 6,000 followers. So I guess that might have upset one of them, even though they were using my face and my description and pretending. So anyways, yeah. So I don't know how that happens, but it does. And so I'm just praying I don't have to work on another 4 years of getting my followers back up to over the 9,000 mark. Anyhow, on that note, let's turn to something that might interest you guys here. Hey, let's take a look at the S&P 500 right now, because it is kind of crazy. We did get back up above a second. There's our number one, number two, ascending triangles. And by the way, folks, the reason why we keep coming back to this, I am a big believer in the structure of the trend. Sometimes you see the trend, and what you'll find is that the trend will have similar kinds of peaks and valleys. All trends are kind of different. I mean, this one over here, prior was different than this one, but sometimes there are some similarities there. And what I wanted to state is you've got two here that did break above, and we talked about it. If you guys remember in this class, we said this was a possibility. We said, would it break above here and kind of do one of these? It did exactly, well, it did that too. It did that. And that was a potential outcome with the direction of the trend. And so all we're really looking at is, did the trend continue here? Well, it sure did. In relationship to those two ascending triangles, there's no doubt about it. It did go higher. And I believe today, with the government being shut down, we are at an all-time new high again. So a new high today, which is, I didn't know what to expect, to be honest with you guys. The markets will sometimes just move past it in terms of equities. It is separate from the government, right? Private employees relative to government employees, although there are some companies out there that do business with the government. right? Some of them, 60, 70% of their revenues come from the government. Maybe they're not doing as great. I take it that not a lot of those are in the S&P 500. I don't know for sure, but like I said, it's going up. A quick note too that I noted just in my swing trade class from yesterday, and that is take these trend lines. Don't forget about them when you draw them. You notice over here, you'll get a support bounce right there. So that I would refer to as a support bounce, right? It could have been, tied to it. Support bounce. Just extend those over to the right. In addition, notice over here too. What did we get when we extended this one over to the right? Well, we got another support bounce right there. Support right there. So we got a couple of those just extending across the top there, across those highs. Boom, right there. You have to really kind of draw them through to see them, but they can be helpful and potential entry point. We were talking about that in the swing trade class because these are kind of like swing trade moves, and looking at support can be an interesting area, particularly on those diagonal upward sloping trend lines. So just park that in the back of your mind. All right. I wanted to point it out because you like to talk about it when you see it, and these do come up from time to time. By the way, here is the NASDAQ 100, and by the way, a big component of the NASDAQ we know is going to be the Mag 7, and there is an ETF out there on the Mag 7. We don't talk about ETFs in this class, but we do. What we can do is we can kind of create one by just the addition sign here, Apple plus Microsoft, all the way down to NVIDIA. And that is basically the Mag 7. Now, you'll notice the Mag 7 is not making a new high. It is such a huge component of the SPX, though. I mean, it's massive, right? So I just want to kind of restate this again. I want you guys to keep eyes on this. Just a cool little feature you could do. Like I said, there's an ETF you can look at, but this is a way to look at each of those stocks collectively as an index. Kind of nice, right? I mean, it's not an index, but it's a basket of stocks. It's the Mag 7, Magnificent 7 stocks, as you'll know, which do account for a ton, literally a ton of the performance this year. And just, any given day. Let's go to the Market Watch tab here. What am I done? Okay, there we go. Let's go over here into the Visualize. And if we just take a look at the NASDAQ 100 there, look at the size of the market weightings here with the Mag 7 relative to the other 100. This is just the 100. Same thing you're going to see within the S&P. Heavily, heavily weighted. What NVIDIA does on the day has a super big impact on the market. Microsoft, Amazon, Tesla, you guys are getting the point. I've often thought that AVGO, Broadcom, could fit into that group because it does have such a big, plays a big role. Here's the 500. Look at that. Even relative to 500 companies, massive. The two Googles in there, they're the same company, but one's a Class A share versus a Class C share. And there's Apple. They're just massive. So my point is this. If we start to see the Mag 7 break down, great way to do it right here. But if it does begin to break down, well, it's going to be hard for the NASDAQ 100 and the S&P 500 to go higher. But if it can hold up, that could be interesting. By the way, this is so cool because it does have your collective volumes in there too. Like right there, you got some volume. That's going to impact your money flow. Money flow looks really strong as well. I'm not showing like there's any negative signs, but I will say this. RSI did dip a little bit, but we have not really gotten another break on the RSI lower. So use this. So for example, if you start to make a lower low and a lower high here, very difficult because it's accounted for so much of the move with its weightings in the SPX, in the NASDAQ, that it could be really challenging for us to go over here. And by the way, could we move from a seasonal September weakness, which we didn't get at all, but I've seen this happen. It can postpone itself 1 month over, and we could see it here. Not to just, throw worries out there, but something to just be mindful of. But maybe that Mag 7 could help us because that is a key sign in terms of what's really been leading the markets up. Yeah. I'll just stand up right now, Riceberg, right in my chair here. And yeah, it's me, I swear. Yeah, I gave those guys my email address, my phone number. I wanted to try to prove to them. They can have my ID for heck's sakes. I just want that X account back up. All right. But yeah, take a look at that. and NASDAQ 100. We'll see what's going on there. Here's the RUT as well. RUT has not been there the same way. It's not participating as much as you can see. Let's see. I'll just use the YM. I'll use futures here to show you on the YM real quick. So, industrials kind of flat too. Some of the industrials. I want to look at the industrials here in a little bit. Before I do so, one interesting aspect of the market, the VIX. If the VIX, now the VIX is down today. No, it's actually up slightly. It says it's up. It looks like it's down. I don't know. It looks like it's down to me. But anyways, on the day, oh no, we're up from the close to close. Yeah, it's really kind of tricky to see. But I have seen this in October. Now, I don't know if it'll happen again. I've seen it in some of these weaker months, seasonal weak months. And by the way, this month could be a very, very strong month. Seasonal weakness is just an average, right? It's made up of good months, bad months. You catch my drift there. But if you were to see, because we are off our lows here on the VIX, which is interesting because this is inverse, generally inverse to the market. And it's a representation of potential fear in the market, but we're up. I mean, well, we traded up to around 17, kind of towards the upper end of the range. Now, normally you'll get a move up in the VIX like this when the market's coming down, but as you can see, the market is coming up, and like S&P 500, I believe it was a new high today. And what's really fascinating is if you start to see this go higher, I mean, let's say it goes to the next level. Let's say it goes to the next kind of the high range here. Now, the market itself, the market could show some weakness here. It could be a sign, right, of something else. So be mindful of that for sure. Now, let's look at the gold is still strong. Oh, let's hit that again. That would be GC. Let's use the futures here. Did pull back a little bit today, but we are still up on the day, it appears. Markets are closed. Gold might continue to trade for a little bit after, of course. Basically, it shuts down for a period of time. It's a futures contract. The bottom line is, though, we've had a pretty big run on that move here. In fact, I had drawn in here just some ascending triangle lines as well. Did we really break up above it? Not completely yet. I'm going to pull this down. Many of you have been looking at the miners, I think. We've talked about the miners in the swing trade class and the ThinkScript class as well. Take a look at where we're at right now. We're right at that price. We closed right at it. So it's not really a sign that we've broken up yet. RSI has been holding in this overbought zone for quite some time as well, but we'll see. Gold can be strong. And one of the notes that a lot of economists have stated, and researchers too, is that gold has been going higher because there's general concern about, economies in general throughout the world. And so what you've been seeing are central banks coming in to buy gold. Now, central banks. Now we're talking about when a country buys gold. When a country, like I was reading about Poland. Poland was buying gold. I mean, if you think about Poland, I mean, that's a country. That's big. And they can buy a lot. And so that may have accounted for this additional swing to the upside, and just central banks across the board. I mean, just compare that to retail traders in and out, some investor, holding it for longer periods of time. But I mean, retail traders compared to a single country, boy, the countries are really quite big. And so this could be a key driver here within gold, as long as, uncertainty remains, etc. Keep all that in mind. Why does it keep doing that? There's silver for us though, right there. Silver had a pretty good day. Silver broke out, has been breaking out for quite some time. And by the way, what can also fuel this is the dollar, the DXY. Here's the dollar index. Now the dollar has just been holding low, but this move right down here has really helped to fuel a lot of commodities. It can, and they've kind of been in a correlation. A lot of times the dollar goes down, it's just, it puts upside pressure on commodities. And so if we were to take out these lows down here, that could be another indication for even further strength in gold and silver and some of the other commodities out there. And you're not going to get this across the board. I mean, copper, there was some a tariff situation, just real quick as we're talking about it on copper too. And I think some of you do do look at some of the copper miners and things like that out there too. So it could be of use just to keep that in mind. All right. So let's continue on. Okay, so let's go over here now, and I wanted to point out to you just initially, let's look at sector rotation grid first as we talk about this. And that, I'm going to pull these down. Those titles are floating sometimes, and you can see, I think we got them all now in there. But what has really been performing relative to the market? And we talked about when interest rates get cut, a lot of times it's infotech that does well. I'll go ahead and add in communication services in there, although because there are some tech in there, but it's actually fallen relative to the market. Because what we're doing here is we're using, I'll use this open window down to the right, we're just using strength compared to the S&P 500 as a whole. And that's it right there. So that's just, you can find that indicator as RS in any of the charts. You'll find it right there. But there is RS, and this is just really helpful because then we can kind of see also over a month-to-month time frame. We're seeing that visually on the charts here. You can see what has been moving relative to the market. Healthcare as well. Discretionary is kind of flat. It did dip a little bit, but it's been holding its own. And you've got here infotech, utilities. I mean, I'm just looking right here. These can be early trends, but what's really interesting about these is we might even see stronger trends here because this is, remember, this is just relative to the S&P 500. If we looked at utilities, so let's keep that in mind. We've got infotech, healthcare, and tech. Now let's go over here and let's look at these in the S&P 500 because we can see, relatively speaking, they've been doing okay. So, and by the way, these, I'll just share these so you guys have them. I've got two of these, but for those of you viewing this, here, I'll put this in real quick. This is not a think script. These are just charts here in the grid. Okay, just as a side note. But for those of you guys that are viewing this in an archive session, you'll find this below the video. You want to click on more, and then it's in the description field, each of these. But let's go to the next one, and I'll share this one as well, too. But that's just a 6-month sector grid. Okay, did we see healthcare moving up relatively strong? Oh, we did. What's going on there? It was announced yesterday, the Trump administration had stated that, hey, we have some real progress in terms of lowering drug prices that are covered by Medicare. And it shot up. Now, I don't know exactly what that was, but I think there was some concern about what the deal would be. And now they've just lowered it to like some of the lowest prices relative to what's out there in the world. Like, you know, people have been buying prescriptions from Canada or whatever the case is. This is, I think, specifically for Medicare, though. So I think it kind of could be a relief rally, to be honest with you, because that, you know, it doesn't really affect maybe those that have private insurance that are already covered, whatever. It's something like that. But those are just some of the early details. But you'll notice what happened. And you guys recall when we talked about this healthcare, we've been talking about it for weeks and weeks on end to see what would happen. It did take out this long downward sloping trend line. And this also was a topic of a number of swing trades that we did in the swing trade class. Can you kind of see the flag in there? Now, by definition, we have fulfilled a flag pattern here. And those are two really, really big bars. This one, by the way, this group may also carry with it some undervalued components to it. A lot of those PE ratios were relatively low, you know, comparatively speaking. I'm just going to show you 1 year. Yeah, we were still going down. How about a 2 year? There you go. So we'd been down for quite a while. If it were to reverse higher, we'll see what does happen. But I'll jump back to that 6 month. But that was a long-term trend line break. Anyhow, let's go back and look at some of those other ones. So there is Infotech. It's doing quite well. And there you have over here, utilities. So can you guys see that as the rotation was strong, the individual stocks here, I should say, yeah, the collective of the individual stocks for these sectors, which is exactly what this is. These are all the stocks in utilities, all the stocks in infotech, healthcare, whatever we're looking at here in the S&P 500. They fall into these categories. Can you see the strength that we're seeing here? That's why I think that rotation chart using relative strength is I mean, it can be effective. You're just going to see where really the stronger trends are because it has to outpace right there, the S&P 500 collectively, and that's what we're getting. Okay. Now, I did want to come over here and take a look at some of the health. I'll just show you what's in the healthcare group. That's really, I think, one of the stronger, well, obviously one of the stronger movers in the of all those sectors over the last week. So here is the S&P 500, just in the scan tab right now, Stock Hacker sub tab, S&P 500 right there, and then we're just going to intersect that with exactly industry, and it's going to be healthcare, all healthcare stocks, but all healthcare stocks within the S&P 500 is how that works. Okay, so it's not, I mean, if I were to go all healthcare, I just got to show you this for a second because it's really bad if I did all healthcare. Watch this. You're going to get stocks, folks, that are just, you know, priced at 0.0000, you know, so you really have to use the tools here to get to where you want to be. Healthcare, watch what happens here. How many? That's 2,088 companies within healthcare. Plenty. If I were to look at some of the price, look at some of these symbols. Yeah, they're horrible. So go over here, make sure you're selecting the S&P 500 healthcare. And by the way, so you get exactly what we are looking at here. So the collective of the companies I'm going to show you now represent this right here. So it could be really interesting to see what has been moving. Here's your percent change right there. And there you go. Biogen, 10% today. How about the past 5 days? Danaher, Merck, CRV, Pfizer. On down the line. Could this be an extension of the early change in trend that we were looking at? That's the question. Okay, now I've got to share this one with you guys too, because I mentioned I would share it. And again, for those of you viewing in the archives, this will be down below the recorded video. You want to click on more, and then it's under the description field down below. I'll have those there. In fact, that's just a standard that I carry these in because we use them quite a bit. But there you go. Okay, so interesting, right? Could be some of these areas, and let's just see what some of these look like. Go to some normal charts over here. You know, some of the big names. What's DHR? Yeah, DHR looking like first. Danaher. There you go. Looks a lot like the index, right? Those are some big bars. Now, obviously, some traders would say, hey, I've got to see it get above resistance, but that's a really interesting big move. Sometimes these can move big off that. I have this sneaky suspicion that what you're seeing here in these long extended downward moves, particularly this year, was based upon what that negotiation with the government was going to look like for lower priced drugs and how extensive that was going to be. And maybe in this case, it's just isolated to more of the Medicare as well, what it could be in this case. So there you have it. But those are some big volume bars. So we'll see. I don't know if those are what's going on there. Sometimes people that were, had held different positions, they're buying more, whatever the case is. But here we go. Here's Merck. Merck. So this one is actually breaking above the highs here. Here's BMY. Okay. A little bit lower, but you can still see it's up 230. What was Merck up? Gosh, $6.20 was Merck. And Merck coming off a very, very long sideways channel. As a matter of fact, and by the way, we talked about this actually in our swing trade class because this company does pay dividends, and these were some of the higher dividends out there. Now, because I mentioned it, dividends are not guaranteed to continue. They can be cut at any time. But there you go. And what I've thrown in here for you guys, because a lot of these have been down for a while. Now, they did take out these longer term trend lines coming down, like what we'd seen in some of the other, in the major sector. But what I'm getting at here, what I want you to focus on is there's a measured move in here too, from 75 to about 85. Now, if we were to break out above this measured move and extend higher, and I've just drawn in some rough lines You could go in and get exact on here too if you wanted to. I mean, look at that. It's a little bit below 75. It's actually technically a little bit above 85. I'm just rounding out some numbers here, but that would suggest at least, and by the way, you've got resistance right there, but if we were just adding 10 points to it, that would be a measured move right there off of that bottom, really tight consolidation range. That would be the target to the upside using that measured move. Okay, those are big bars, and I mean, you're getting volume to come in there too, which a lot of traders will look for, to kind of help them to build a greater expectation of maybe a follow through later on or whatever that might be. So there's that. Let's hit one more over here too. I want to see, BIIB's having a huge day. BIIB. Oh, there you go. It's just one single bar. That's up actually $14 today, or a little over 10%. It looks like where it closed today. You can still see, although it's not flat like Merck, it's kind of upward sloping. So possibly some really interesting areas to keep an eye on, as you dive into it. So I wanted to hit a few of those charts initially, but now what I want to do is just jump back into our quotes here. And oh, by the way, Cam has noted, folks, in the chat here that there is a survey link. If you're finding value out of this, consider doing that survey, folks. 910 if you loved it. There are lower numbers if you didn't love it, but hey, it'd be great if you fill it out. Just 2 questions, and there's also a little note in there. If you have any topic requests, I'm happy to address those for you each week. We've done that before. I get that. My manager does too. So if you're able to do that. And by the way, if you're finding value out of this presentation, be sure and hit the like button. That does help with the YouTube algorithm. And be sure to subscribe as well. Love to have you on as a subscriber too. All right, so let's get this going. And I wanted to go over here now, and let's just see. First of all, I'm actually going to take a look at posture initially. And to do that, we're going to jump right into our market posture here. See how we're holding up. Boy, still an expansion between our weekly charts here. So this is a 3-year weekly, and we like to look at the strength of prices holding above both of these moving averages, both of them exponential moving averages, one shorter, got a 10, and we've got a 20. Now you can see over here, this gap, folks, I mean, anytime you're making another new high, that gap might be increasing, and you can see right there, that has been increasing, and all else equal, that just shows positive strength. Now it can change, but be mindful of that. And one of the indications of a possible change is when your 10-period EMA on a weekly begins to just curve over like that. That can be of interest. Be mindful of it. Now, looking at the daily chart, we're seeing some strength here to continue as well. Just general market posture, bullish relative to bearishness, holding above both of these moving averages. And one of them, remember, so one of the key things we look for in terms of the change of trend, potential change of trend, is the crossover. So that is the 10 crossing above the 40 on a daily basis. These longer, stronger trends will tend to hold above the 10 will hold above the 40, confirming that the trend is still in check. This is kind of a longer term trend still, intermediate to longer term. Okay, and right now we do have a shorter term, the short term, and the longer term, intermediate to longer term. They're both up. Prices are above both, but this is an interesting gauge, the short term, the 10 period, to keep a kind of a watch on really where strength is coming in. And by the way, when prices break out after a consolidation or after a support bounce, that was a bounce too off the lower trend line here. Look how much price ground we actually covered when we closed. That's closed above that moving average after. So let's put this in order. The trend is up. We bounced off support. Prior high, horizontal support, diagonal support meet. Then we get confirmation of the trend. I don't want to say confirmation. I'll say the trader might have a greater expectation because confirmation is kind of a tough word. There's no way, things can change from one day to the next, but a greater expectation now that prices are breaking above and could go higher because why? They are now above the 10-period moving average, EMA. You see a lot of price range over here. Did we close below it over here? Only right there. How much price range ground did we actually take on that? So we about 6,000 here to about, it looks like that level we were holding above the 10 period. Now let's look at our current situation. There was a prior low right there, right? We bounced off the diagonal. We just closed above the 10. Now I know we've been going up for a while and we are going into, yes, one of those seasonal years where sometimes prices are weak. It is October. Well, we said that in September too, and it was strong. But there's October, and what are we getting? More news about a different sector that might give more breadth to the market. Healthcare. We're seeing some big strength. That's kind of a defensive type stock. If that holds up with some of the mags, well, this could potentially continue because sometimes those healthcare stocks, defensive in nature, they tend to outperform, and sometimes they go up during seasonally weak times for the market. There's October right there. We'll see what happens. Okay, coming over here now and looking at a general comparison here. Here is a 5-day and a 1-month comparison. You can see over here, for this month, what did we get in terms of performance going back 1 month from now, looking at potential rotation? Well, we saw the information technology sector show some strength. You guys, I'm going to say that I'm going to show you this, but I'm just going to highlight a really key point after that I really want you to, really get down, and that's, well, okay, so you can see the percentages here, okay, and then there's healthcare. Actually, it was an underperformer, but now is really showing some strength, even over on 1-month basis, because why? Look at that right there. Look at the 5-day change is 5%. It's massive. So these are always interesting because they can influence potential numbers over here. Okay, so I've seen numbers like this for years over different time frames, and they're interesting, but I want you to all realize, we just looked at it too, and I think you guys realize this. I didn't always understand, see this. I looked at the numbers and said, okay, I should look at this. But remember when we looked at the charts right here? When we looked at the charts, are we not seeing exactly what we just looked at right there? Different percentages. Remember, the charts are so great because, you guys are really good with the visuals. And you can see over here what's happened the last 3 months. Okay? Well, yeah, it's been flat. It hasn't been a performer, but maybe now it'll be a performer. For example, I'm just using healthcare. It's breaking out with a lot of volume. We're actually getting those numbers, those sector rotation indications, right on the chart. We're actually seeing it. 1 month, 2 month, 3 month, whatever you want to do. These are 6-month charts, but you're getting it there. Just want to make sure we're making that connection with those numbers. You're seeing that on the chart. And the sector rotation really helps a lot. Okay, so I want to hit this before we're done though, because we do this every week, but hopefully you can see here some interesting potential areas that some traders might go into because they're showing strength. Still infotech, utilities showing strength, and healthcare, right? Areas to potentially drill down, as we just talked about how to do that using the scan tab. Now, if I come over here and we go into our normal market sector review, you can see over here, we did get the McClellan going below the -100 and then back above the -70. And what does that say? On a shorter term, kind of intermediate, but more short-term basis, what does that say? It says, according to Mr. McClellan, Tom McClellan, 2 to 3 weeks bullish. We've seen a history of that as well. Now, unfolding in many cases, we've seen that, and that's why I guess it's something that traders use. Advanced decline line, folks. If this begins to dip, be mindful of that. We look at it every single week in this class. Right now, that is our market breadth, and we're holding up pretty good. Okay, let's come on over here. That is, like I just said, market breadth. That is the SPXEW a very interesting sign because we're breaking out higher. I really believe that healthcare could play a key role here. Healthcare has been so strong, and it's been a laggard, relative to the market for a while. In fact, the market's been like this, healthcare's been like this. But if that comes back around with favorable news from the administration, and just the way that investors are sort of taking that all in and making sort of some projections on that, well, maybe it could come out of this big trough and continue to help the markets as well. But clearly, if that were the case, it might actually help healthcare, obviously more than anything. No indications of the omen here. By the way, when I said it could help healthcare more than anything, I'm referring if that trend continues. The trend has to continue, right, that we saw. It can change. Anything can change. What if new news comes out? Something to be aware of, right? Okay. Holding kind of in a general area here, not too much with the new highs. There's your seasonality. And what's crazy here is, seasonally speaking, we tend to actually have a decent August with one of the best months, 5-year, 10-year, 20-year. Tend to is the key word on average in November. October, November, that's kind of the year-end rally. That would be interesting if we just blew past September, the weak part, and just continued on. But we can watch this going forward. All right, wanted to hit that, everybody. That's your 30-minute chart, and that 30-minute chart pretty much tells me that was, you guys tell me, easy to see though, right? That was a high bar. I mean, that was an all-time, a new all-time high today, if you can believe it. So interesting. All right, everybody. Well, that's what I had in store for you today. Again, a lot of our discussions here we do take into our swing trade class. If you are interested in the swing trade class, or even ThinkScript, because I do both of them, we talk a lot. There's a lot of interchange between this class and those two. There is the swing trade class where if you are looking at that shorter term time frame, like the ones we talked about, trading above the 10-period exponential moving average, those kind of shorter, sharper moves, we look at that in this class. Here is that playlist if in fact you are interested in that. I see many of you in that class, but it's one that we tend to share some insights into, and some of the other areas as well. All right. Okay, everybody. Well, thanks so much for your help in the chat, Cam. And Cam did repost that there is a survey chat in the survey link in the chat. Again, if you're finding value from these presentations, smash that like button, subscribe. It does help the YouTube algorithm as well. With that, all right, great being with y'all, folks. Have a fantastic rest of the day. See you next time.